Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Ryer, and I'm the director of the Women in Leadership Archives at Loyola University Chicago, and I'm also a certified archivist. So a little bit of background about me. I have a bachelor's degree in history, a master's degree in library science, a digital archive specialist certificate from the Society of American Archivists, and I have archival experience working in various museums, libraries, corporations, cultural heritage organizations, and just about anywhere that you would expect to find in archives.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. So let's just jump right into the questions. What made you want to be an archivist?
So growing up, I was always fascinated with history, but I felt that the history we were being taught in school didn't entirely reflect the environment that I was living in, and I was eager to see more representation. Doing some career exploration in college, I realized that I wanted to choose a profession where I could draw attention to stories that don't always get told or aren't always widely shared. I think I wanted to be an archivist before I even knew what that was. And once I learned what an archivist was and sort of had that aha moment, I really pursued it with full force.
Very interesting. If you could pick one task to start your workday with, what would it be?
So now as a director, I spend more time kind of on project management rather than working directly with collections. So nowadays, I usually start my day more with catching up on correspondence, checking in with researchers, prospective donors of collections, and vendors. I also, again, try to chime in on sort of those internal projects and workflows. If I have time, I might do some writing. So things like writing for a presentation, revising text for a web page, doing administrative reports, or maybe like a summary for a grant project. If I am working more directly with the collections, such as a processing project, my preference is to try to tackle the most complex decisions of the day first. So if I know that I'm going to be arranging and describing a collection and having to make those decisions about, what series goes where and things like that, I try to do that first thing. And then maybe later in the day, those things that require fewer decisions, like labeling folders or reboxing things or scanning photos. Those are more kind of later in the day tasks.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it makes total sense to start with the most complicated thing first. That being said, what would your favorite part of the job be?
My favorite part of the job is definitely anything where I'm interacting with others and get to connect people to our collections. It takes a considerable amount of time and effort from that original conversation with a prospective donor of a collection to the point where the collections are ready to be available to the public. So knowing what that entire process looks like, it's always very rewarding to see the collections get used, and always surprising and interesting to get those research questions from people or be able to have collaborations with internal and external groups and create programming around things. And there's always something new to learn in the profession as well, whether it's something about your own collections and just learning more about what you have, or learning something new in the archival field, which is also exciting.
Now, what would be your least favorite part of the job?
My least favorite part of the job is encountering materials with red rot. So red rot is kind of what it sounds like. The name is fairly descriptive. It's a degradation process that occurs in certain tanned leather objects. So a lot of times you'll see it in leather-bound books. So it's, again, where that leather just sort of degrades and breaks down. And when that happens, there are these little red flakes that get everywhere, and it will stain just about everything it comes into contact with. So other materials in your collections, that nice clean table you were working on, your hands, your clothes. So yeah, I'd say that's maybe my least favorite part.
As someone who's been working in an archive now, I had always wondered what that was. Now that I know, it makes so much sense. Moving forward though, what's been the most unexpected item that you found in the collections?
There's always new and interesting items that come our way, but one that really sticks out in particular as unexpected is a French horn necklace that we have. So it was frequently worn by Molly West, a labor activist, and we have a really wonderful digital exhibit on her if you all would like to learn more. So she fell in love with classical music and specifically the French horn while in high school. Her high school had a really robust music program where she was able to learn the French horn. During the financial difficulties of the Great Depression, her school's arts program was threatened. And that was how she organized her first ever strike. So it was a student strike. And although she would go on to organize many strikes throughout her life for various causes, that marked the first and only time that she was ever arrested.
Can't imagine just stumbling across that, but you never know what you find in an archive. What do you think is the oldest thing in the Women in Leadership archives?
Presently, our oldest item in the collection is from 1878. So I will say that the majority of our collections are from the 20th century. So we do have some items, ever so slightly on either end of that, kind of outside of that scope. We don't have any, restrictions as far as, collecting as far as time, but again, that's just sort of the donations and collections we've received. So that item from 1878 is a Chicago Women's Club announcement. The Chicago Women's Club was a progressive reform organization whose goal was mutual sympathy and counsel and united effort towards the higher civilization of humanity. So lofty goals.
And that would be very nice. So the Women in Leadership Archives is truly a wonderful space. Could you tell us just what makes it so unique and special?
Yeah, so the WLA collects, preserves, and makes available permanently valuable records of women and women's organizations, which document women's lives, roles, and contributions. We're one of only a few organizations in the entire country with this type of mission. Our primary geographic area of focus is Chicago, then the Midwest, then national. Also unique to us is our areas of collection strength, which are quite a few. So activism, athletics, civic and cultural engagement, education, the environment, the fine, performing, and visual arts, public service and politics, science, technology, and engineering, social justice, and women religious.
Even though it's so focused on women, it's so broad as well. And I love that about the Women in Leadership Archive. Can you tell us what your favorite collection so far is?
So picking a favorite collection is like picking a favorite child. So you try not to play favorites as best as you can. What I will say that oftentimes my so-called favorite thing is, whatever came through our door most recently. Again, we're so appreciative of the collections that we're able to receive from people and organizations. And we've really received some phenomenal new collections over the past couple of months. From individual artists and nurses and Mundelein College alums, as well as civic engagement organizations, just to name a few. And we're very excited to make more information about these collections available soon.
Awesome. And then finally, this is more of a technical question. How do archivists go about preserving documents?
Sure. So archives tend to approach preservation holistically. So looking at the entirety of its holdings rather than focusing in on sort of, one object in particular. So ideally, archive storage areas are kept at a certain temperature and humidity year-round. Operating within those levels keeps items from chemically degrading and also decreases the likelihood of things like pests and mold. We also keep things in chemically inert folders and boxes and other containers like that so that the items are not exposed to light and dust. And then we also encourage proper handling of the collections. So that could be things like washing your hands before you handle a document, keeping food and drink away. So a lot of that is really those preventative measures.
That is awesome. Yeah, there's so much that goes into protecting pieces of the past. And then we have two more questions for you.
Okay.
The first is, how can one of our viewers get involved in an archive, or specifically the Women in Leadership Archives?
Sure. If you're looking for more information about archives in general, so where to find one near you if you're trying to do research, there's a really great resource called Archives Grid. And that is basically a searchable database of different archives in the US. So it comes up as a map. And even just things like doing simple keyword searching for the type of object or type of history that you're looking into. I will say that we tend to be a pretty friendly profession. So even if you find a local archives and they don't quite have the materials that you're looking for, we tend to be very aware of other similar institutions. So we tend to be pretty good at referring you to the right place. So as long as you start that search, someone will make sure that you end up in that right place and find those materials that you need or want. As far as learning more about the WLA in particular, you can visit our website, which is luc.edu/WLA. So W like women, L like leadership, A like archives. So we have a very robust website with inventories on it. We have several digitized collections with thousands of images that you can browse through. And then we also have a handful of digital exhibits to peruse as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So our last question is, do you have anything else you would like to add for Ask an Archivist for this Ask an Archivist video that we haven't covered already?
So thanks everybody for watching and submitting questions. If you have more questions about archives in general or about the WLA, please feel free to reach out to us on our Facebook page or on our website. Thanks everyone.
Thank you for joining us for our Ask an Archivist web video. For more information about the WLA, click the link below and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.